What's up, guys? Metal571 here. Oh, wait a minute. No one's going to see this part of the video. Only everybody else will after the fact. Alright, this is a random stream, so welcome everybody who's watching later. I'm going to see if we get some attention here. I mainly wanted to test my webcam to see how this works out, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Don't mind me just having my evening coffee over here. It's like 6 o'clock. But some of you guys are probably still watching the auteur review at this point. So I don't know how many people will show up, but I guess we'll see what happens. Is this live Q&A number 7? Which one am I even on? Is this number 8? I probably should have checked that before I started. What's going on? Thanks. Yeah, I actually, because I used some Patreon money, so I changed all my light bulbs to LEDs that are daylight, which is why it looks a little better. And so this is what the room really looks like. It's still like this pale straw yellow that I hate, but whatever. But the camera is now the Logitech Brio 4K, which is not shooting 4K because I don't have like gigabit upload speeds. For this stream, I'm using 10 megabits up, 30 frames a second, 1080p, so we'll see if it looks any better. But yeah, it's a Logitech Brio, which I think is the best webcam they make right now. I guess I'm infamously known for that C615 review from like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago or something like that. So that's pretty funny. But I finally did upgrade. Yeah, this is a really old shirt. I think I had this one since high school. Probably got it in like 2004, 2005 or something like that. Welcome everybody. Hopefully you guys, I don't know, some of you have probably seen the auteur review already. I wanted to show off a couple things here. Like I know people wanted to see the Atticus in an actual video. So, because people have only seen pictures of it, so this is actually what it looks like. It's this very dark purple. I'll probably show it off a little bit more later when more people are watching, but you guys are here first, so you get to see some of this grain. It's pretty cool. It's pretty dark purple, and then there's an effect where I'd asked for a sunburst to, excuse me, darker toward the edges, so that's what that is going on there. It's pretty cool. It's very cool. Although it makes you look like an idiot when you wear it. Like, I'm not going to use it for monitoring because I think the 380 Pro sounds better for monitoring, but yeah. You end up with if you already have a large head, you end up with the largest head on earth when you wear this thing. But I don't care because it sounds insane. It sounds incredible. Like, ether seat flow ain't got nothing on this. But yeah, that's how the Icon and the Atticus are. They have absolutely massive ear cups. They're huge, and I think that's part of the reason why they have such a good soundstage, because there's actually some space, there's some volume going on in there, as opposed to just something pressed up against your head. You can see it on the 380 Pros, even though they have big ear cups. They're not very deep. So I don't actually know what the Pink Floyd Sennheiser looks like in person, but I'm aware of that thing. I actually wonder if those wireless versions of that was called the Momentum originally, sound any different than the wired version, because I wasn't super impressed with the wired version. Thoughts on Ananda? That was one of the few things, the HiFi Ananda is what this guy's referring to. That was one of the few things that really surprised me at Can Jam earlier this year, in like February, I think it was. Wow, it's a while ago now. And it was because it was so easy to drive. Like at the time, I didn't have an ES100, so I just brought this like little OnePlus dongle because I have a OnePlus 6T, and I drove it off that, and I was like, "This is crazy! How am I able to get this much volume and have such a good sounding headphone off this crappy little dongle?" Like the Ananda was really surprising because of that. It's really like the Ultimate Edition X upgrade. I still want to review one, which I probably will get the chance to. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll see. Yeah, long time to all you guys. Which Q&A is this? Does anybody even remember? I probably named it wrong. It's probably Q&A number 8. Maybe I'll just change the name of it later. Anyway, yes, I like beans. Thank you. Actually, kidney beans are great. That was a great question. Thank you. Do they use the same drivers as the Fostex T50? I'm assuming you're talking about the Atticus. No. It's using the TPE driver from the ZMF ELS or ALS or whatever it is. Let's see. You have a Zonar Essence sound card worth an upgrade to external DAC amp. Honestly, I am not a good guy to ask about DACs and amps because I tend to be pretty bad at telling the difference between them. Usually it's good to have an external one because you're going to avoid EMI, electromagnetic interference issues. So a regular one outside like an SDAC as a DAC and a JDS Atom will probably do fine with your headphones there. I have a 789, a THX 789, and I have a, sorry, this coffee, man, SDAC balanced right now. That's what I'm using. Yeah, the T50 RP mods are the planars ZMFs, like the Ori. When I reviewed it, it was still called the Omni. The ZMF Fibro, old model. And he's still making a ZMF Blackwood with the Mark III version of the T50 driver. Headphones, I think, are better than the HD800S at that price point. Oh, the same price point? Well, the thing about the HD800 is I just don't like the frequency response. It's really aggressive. It's pretty sibilant. It's just annoying to listen to without EQ. So that kind of automatically disqualifies it in certain ways. So in terms, you have to clarify what you mean by in terms of better. I hate the term good and better, and like sound is obviously complicated. But I would probably pick something like the ELS or the LCD2. Well, I have picked the LCD2 right back there upon my head over the HD800, which I also own. It's crazy that I happen to own those two. Those are actually mine. I need the HD800 for the Soundstage, though, because absolutely nothing seems to have beaten it yet in Soundstage width. As Zach mentioned, sending you a Verite, yes. I think he estimated this month he's supposed to be sending me one, so hopefully that happens. That'd be awesome, especially now that I finished the Auteur and the ELS. Have I heard the DT250? No, it's on my review list, though, because I know that some of you guys may or may not like Olive, but OLUV is who I'm talking about. The guy behind, what's the name of that channel? Clavinet Junkie was the original name. He really likes the DT250 as long as you mod it so that the channel imbalance is fixed. It's like one of the few closebacks that has been really decent, other than the K553 at that price point, supposedly. Is the Ori still competitive today? I would just direct you to watch Max Settings video on it. I think at the price point it's pretty expensive for what it is. I mean, all the ZMFs are in my opinion, but that said, the Ori is still the best T50 mod that I've ever heard, by far. So if that tickles your fancy, it's definitely something worth looking into. It has almost eliminated the problems in the treble with the T50. It's really surprising just how good Zach managed to fix a lot of the grain and haze in the treble that they all seem to have with the Ori in particular. Let's see. DT770s. Oh, man. Oh, don't get me started on DT770s again. I almost, at the time I loved those things, and that's because I realized that I must have had an older ADOM. At some point, I feel like they must have changed them. There's been a bunch of posts on Reddit about the DT770, how it's not quite the same as it used to be, and I kind of agree with that. I picked one up way after that original ADOM review, and it was much brighter than the original and much leaner in the bass. It was weird. I don't know what's going on with the DT770 nowadays, but some people really like it, and it still does have an absolutely awesome soundstage and really fun bass. But you guys know me, I'm extra treble sensitive, so not as big of a fan now. So yeah, I recommend the K53 over that now. What songs do I listen to? I have this big playlist that covers a variety of genres, but really the most important thing is that any reviewer is listening to songs they're very, very, very familiar with. Like, there's certain songs I've listened to that have nothing to do with the classic Hotel California, whatever, test tracks I kind of alluded to this in the Auteur review, but I've heard them on like 50 different pairs of headphones, and so like they're really useful. I don't even like sharing some of the songs I listen to just because they're so personal that they're not going to help anybody, I don't think, to evaluate headphones, just because I'm so used to listening to those specific tracks. So it depends. But I will say that one good test track in the hardest thing to evaluate, Soundstage, was definitely, is it Yoshi Horikawa's, what was it, Letter. Yeah, I like Letter. Everyone listens to Bubbles, but I like Letter because it's just got really distinct imaging of like all the pencils writing around all around your head. It's really cool. What do I think of the new Slipknot album? I was, there were a couple good tracks, but like, see, I'm kind of like an Iowa guy and an early, self-titled Slipknot kind of a guy. So what they're putting out now is a little bit too light. I like that really hard, straight up stuff that they used to do back in like 2001. I have some of that, but a lot of the tracks there are a little bit more flowery, but I don't mind it. It's whatever that they want to do now. They don't have to be the same band that they always were. Let's see. What's my opinion on Olive on sound demos? Doesn't seem to like a lot of headphones. Yeah, Olive's very, very picky. He's very picky on frequency response in particular, more so than I am, because I don't know. I EQ a lot too, and so does he, but I guess he's just really, really a stickler on natural frequency response. I think that's why he doesn't seem to like a lot of headphones. The sound demos, I have the mini DSP ears. I don't know how many people have actually seen it, but yeah, this is my mini DSP ears. I have the same thing he has, but I don't think sound demos on it are really too great because, first of all, it's got the wrong acoustic impedance, which means that from headphone to headphone, there's a difference between what the ears will measure and what a professional head and torso simulator will measure, so it's never completely accurate. It's important to take any of those measurements with a grain of salt, and thus, continuing from that point, it's important to take any sound demos recorded with it with a grain of salt. But it's still better than a flat plate. That's kind of my opinion on it. Oratory will destroy me for saying that on Reddit because he really hates the ears. And for good reason, because it's really not accurate. But it is more accurate than a flat plate. So it's whatever. It's something. Let's see. NDH20, the Neumann NDH20, supposed to be very neutral. I don't know. I've heard it's quite bassy, but some of the people I talk to seem to like it. But I have not thought about reviewing it yet. It's probably going to be hard to get a pair of those. They're not like super popular. Sound like an Audio-Technica or a Sennheiser or something. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. You prefer the Ori over the Argon? Yeah, I would say so, because the Argon is still, I think, a stock enclosure, not modified driver. And part of the reason why the Ori is so good is because it's so good because Zach's done a lot of driver mods already on it. And that's what makes it so crazy. And he's got a completely different enclosure and all that stuff. So it's quite a different headphone physically, as far as I know, as well. So that's why I like the Ori. T60RP Ori? Oh, can Zach make a T60RP Ori? I didn't even know that. That's interesting. DT 1990s or Porta Pro? Yeah, really funny. Very, very funny. Somebody asked DT 1990s or Porta Pros. It's funny. I'd probably rather listen to a Porta Pro, seriously. Is coffee good for you? Apparently it is. I happen to be fairly addicted to it. I don't drink like 48 ounces plus a day, but I have probably, what do I have? I think 324 ounce. Yeah, okay. 3 8-ounce cups a day. Because I'm a programmer at work. The first thing I do, I get in, is I get a cup of coffee. It's just what we do. We turn coffee into code. That's the point. All right, let's see. Our DT770 is worth less than 100 pounds. Is that pounds? Yeah. I'm such a bad... No, I'm not a bad American. I just don't know what pounds are. No, I do. I'm not used to looking at that symbol. I don't know. The 770s are up to interpretation on the frequency response. I think they're just too bright for me. I would rather start with the K553. even though I think the Soundstage is better on the 770 by a lot, from what I remember. Let's see. Is it bad that we develop more earwax from wearing headphones so often? Is that what happens? I probably should get my ears cleaned at some point, because I'm almost 30 already. So I feel like that might actually help. So maybe I will do that. But I don't know if wearing headphones actually causes that to happen. At least not full sizes. Why do open headphones translate binaural recordings better? Well, it's a soundstage, really. I don't know what causes soundstage. Ratings has had some ideas about what causes soundstage to be good by measuring the difference between, like, I think it's no pinna on their hats to putting the pinna back on, which I think is pretty interesting. But I don't know if you can prove that that's how you measure soundstage, or what causes open back headphones to have a better soundstage. I just don't know enough about the sound science behind all that. My opinion on Ether 2. You know, I thought it was really quite impressive for a Mr. Speaker's headphone at CanJam, but after Mac settings review, I really don't know what to expect when I listen to it at home. If I tried using sheepskin ear pads on the K553, no. I have the originals. Yes, I still do play guitar. Someone asked me if I'm still jamming. It's actually in the other room. And I have 2 Mesa Boogies now as well, which is really crazy. I never thought I would own tube amps. Those are the only tube amps that I own, are guitar amps. Unsainted and Nero Forte. Oh, you like those two? Yeah. That's the only 2s that really went back to the old stuff. I agree. On the new Slipknot album. Would a 5-band EQ be enough for you? If it's parametric, yes. I usually don't use that many bands of EQ or that many different parameters. What do they call it? Filters. I don't use too many numbers of filters to adjust. But if it was just graphical, yeah, no, that wouldn't be enough, because that's too broad of an adjustment. I've ever mixed and mastered my own song. You know, I actually have come up with a couple interesting little riffs and put a drum machine along with it, powered by some random guitar pedal, multi-effects pedal. But, like, as far that does not count for mixing and mastering my own songs. That's like nothing serious. Speakers versus really good headphones. That's a great question. One of the big problems with speakers is that they get really expensive fast when you get high-end headphones versus high-end speakers. So technically, headphones tend to be a bargain if you're talking about comparing the high-end markets. But at the same time, if you have a really good treated room, which obviously this one is not, then getting a pair of like LSR 305s will be amazingly good quality. So it depends. But most of my problem with speakers is that you need so much room treatment to get them to sound anything like a headphone. What's the closest closeback to an HD600? That's easy. That's the K553. That's why I use it so much. Or I was, until I upgraded to this guy, the ZMF Atticus, which I showed off a little earlier in the stream, but so you guys can see it again. It's a really dark purple. It's hard to, yeah, there you go. Maybe some light on it. Yeah, now you can kind of see it. It looks really cool. It's like, it depends on what angle the light hits it. It's basically a camphor Atticus with a purple stain with a sunburst that darkens toward the edge. It's pretty great. That's what I'm using now instead of the K553 at work. I think I might have just scratched it. What speakers do I use? I have in the other room behind me a home theater, not really speakers, just a home theater. And it's running a very Z Reviews setup. I've got a Denon S730H AVR. Got a Vizio M55E0 for the TV. Got ELAC B6s for the fronts and an ELAC C5 for the center, and the rears are MB42Xs. So that's what I'm running. And they're all calibrated with Odyssey. Yeah, not Odyssey, but Odyssey calibration for equalization. So the auto EQ that comes with an audio receiver. I think Porta Pros are bad. Yeah, in fact, a lot of people do, and that's probably because they prefer the KSC75, which is a more detailed and not warmer, brighter, and more forward-sounding headphone. And so that's not a problem. you just like the KSC75 better. But I think the bass extension is awesome on the Porta Pro. I don't know. I'm definitely someone who loves warm stuff. So like if you're listening to classical, the Porta Pro is going to sound like crap probably. Let's see. Ears is a cheap tool to allow people to measure and get comparisons between multiple headphones. That's right. And even the comparisons between multiple headphones only work so well. Like it's actually really, really bad to compare, like for example, my Porta Pro measurements against the full size. It's pretty bad just because like on your headphones, wow. Sorry, I was trying to get the KPH out. And it's like stuck to 5 other causes in this drawer now. There, you can see it. Good enough. Yeah, comparing the on-ears to over-ears is one of the big problems with the ears measurement system, this thing, for those who don't know. Because it's just not very standards compliant, especially the ear canal inside the ear that goes into the microphone in that thing. It's just like a cylinder. It's nowhere near accurate. Oh man, this chat's getting way ahead of me now. Let's see what we got here. What are we talking about here? Furniture works as a decent room treatment. That's actually pretty true. But man, the room behind me and the rest of this place is so live. I just put like tons of sound foam around. It still wasn't enough. Clearly I need to just like drape a bunch of drapes all over the walls or something. How's it going? I'm doing pretty well. Am I getting ruck phone? I don't know. Honestly, Ruck is probably going to send that to people, and if I was a company, I would do the same thing. I would probably send it to people that he knows are going to give it a good review, like C. Skippy and a bunch of the SBAF guys. In fact, even Sal, if some of you guys are following SBAF that closely, will probably love that headphone, and it'll be so funny before I ever get to touch it. Now, I actually did hear a prototype of it way back, and it was pretty decent. I think it was kind of overpriced for the detail, but the frequency response was like bang on. So I have some very high hopes for that. Ruck is absolutely... We're talking about Auroras Audio here, if you guys haven't heard of that. They're making a headphone based on the driver from the Kennerton Valley, VALI. And yeah, it's probably going to be pretty great. But I probably won't get my hands on it for a while. Let's see what we got here. What headphones would I recommend for rock and metal? The 558s. Yeah, the 558s are pretty light on bass for that sort of thing, and the upper mids are pretty forward. Get out of my chat, Imp. Anyway, the 558s don't have much bass, and if you're listening to metal, you probably don't want that forward of mids because the mids are already forward. So I would go... Actually, people who might buy a DT770 if you like metal, because if it's mastered okay, the mids are less pronounced and the bass is much larger. My favorite metal headphones are probably the Atticus, which I just showed, and the A900X. And so those are really great. I also have pretty relaxed mids for the similar reason. Have I heard the 600 ohm DT770? Yeah, actually I have. Did I talk about that in my... I might have talked about it in my 770, 880, and 990 trio comparison. But I don't remember. And does it have a wider soundstage? No, not really. Honestly, it was mega bright. Like, I don't understand why it was super bright. Like, I don't even think the 250 ohm was as sibilant as the 600 ohm DT770. I don't think a tube amp would be anywhere near enough to calm down that treble. Yeah, I know, Amp, I'm kidding. JDS Atom and Kata's tone board. You know, I can't even talk about the tone board because I never even owned one. I know it measures great. Apparently people think it sounds like crap, who are very subjective about DACs, which is fine. I mean, they can do whatever they want. But I don't even have an opinion because I don't have that. I have a JDS Atom, though, which I'm using at work to power the Atticus, and it's been fine. I mean, I'm just terrible at telling amps and DACs apart, so I just buy stuff that measures pretty well. And I will A-B stuff quite a bit. I actually A-B'd... I haven't A-B'd the topping D50 versus the S-Stack yet, but that's something I want to eventually do. Then I'll figure out if topping really does sound as bad as everyone says it does, despite it measuring amazingly well. But we'll find out about that eventually. Goddess tone board's not good out to 10 megahertz. Yeah, the funny thing about Audio Science Review is that Amir is taking these harmonic distortion measurements and saying they're amazing only if they're down to like minus 110 decibels. And then immediately after that, and the very, very end of the review is like, Amir is basically saying, oh yeah, I can't tell the difference though between this, what was it? Cannot remember the name of the tube amp, the Valhalla 2, and like an Atom or something like that, or a topping. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, apparently according to people who've read all the papers that I haven't from the AES, people are very, very bad at telling the difference between amps and DACs, like very, very bad. And it's because a lot of those measurements that are being made by ASR, that everyone's like, ooh, lowest harmonic distortion, to a certain point, that doesn't even matter. Let's see. College rent is expensive, yeah. Have I tried the HP50? Yeah, I owned it shortly. But the main problem was that it was just so uncomfortable. Like, it clamped like crazy, and there wasn't a lot of room in the ear cups, so I actually ended up getting rid of it. I mean, it sounded okay, but I didn't really hear the room feel or whatever that they were promising about the sound stage of it being good. It really wasn't. I mentioned the Denon as my amp for the home theater. Is that for the warm signature of a Denon? I have no idea. Honestly, I'm not even using it because, I'm not even using it without any calibration. I'm using it with the calibration. So, like, I don't know if the amp itself has a sound signature of any kind because I'm using the Odyssey calibration already. Although I will say that once I calibrated it to reference or whatever auto EQ that they apply, okay then. I literally touched nothing and the stream went down. That makes no sense. My internet was perfect. OBS was perfect. And I didn't touch anything. I was just watching the live Q&A and it died. And I did see that because I do have it up on the side of my screen. So I have no idea what that was. Sorry. Oh, YouTube. Jeez. All right. Anyway, getting back to what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the Denon receiver. Yeah, I don't think the sound signature has anything to do with the amp. It was just the EQ on it that it automatically applies. No, amp is not sabotaging the stream. He's just trying to point out that I'm not very subjective about DACs and amps, which is a valid consideration. Let's see. No proper Klipsch HP3 review. Yeah, I ever thought of why that is? It's because it's so bad that no one else bothered. Oh, that works. Yeah, I know a lot of people who just you should just, I guess you probably already do, just put on my videos on like not on a loop, but maybe like one after the next, as long as I'm using the Rode NT1 anyway, and just have that go along in the background. Alright, let's see. Someone's trying to silence my headphone opinions. That's pretty funny. I'm pretty sure the NSA has more important things to worry about right now. Could I compare the Edition XX against the Ananda? I would love to do that, and I'm sure the Ananda would destroy it. Pretty sure. Does Den watch my streams? Oh, what, Denfi? I don't know. He doesn't talk to people. He doesn't like people. Although maybe he likes me a little more than people, so who knows? Maybe. I'll never know. What's my favorite sub $500 closed back? Ooh. You know, I don't like too many closed backs that are, there's like, anything I've ever heard that was worth it was kind of like way under 500. Yeah, and Atticus for $500. There you go. That's the right answer. Oh, that's The Flux. I was wondering what VIZ was for a second, then I remembered your Twitter handle. I don't know what I'm talking about here. Yeah, because like I haven't heard anything great like under 200, like above $200 until you get to like the Atticus. I think somebody let me borrow their Ether C, just a regular one, for a while when I did the Atticus and Icon review. I think that's what it was. And so I talked about that briefly, and I don't know, that headphone just doesn't deliver on the dynamics and resolution that the Atticus and Icon do. It just doesn't. This headphone does not. So if somebody can make a closeback that's like worth buying in the $500 range, it would sell like wildfire. I'm hoping that the the Verite C is pretty awesome. So hopefully I'll get that after the full open Verite. Thanks, Joshua. Enjoyed the ELS review. Looking forward to the future Verite review. Keep up the great work. Thanks. Yep, I try. 2020, make an April Fool's video about Beats are better than LCD4. You know, I thought about doing April Fool's videos a couple times. I guess I never ended up doing that. I don't know why. I guess I couldn't decide for sure on what it should be. Thought about reviewing like a cable or like, I don't know, something totally unrelated to headphones. I have no idea. I want to, and more serious note, I do actually want to review in a serious manner. I want to actually review a Beats and Bose at some point, because I have to. Didn't get a chance to do any of those noise canceling headphones yet either. Let's see. 599 versus the DT880 Pro. Yeah, I'd probably take the 599, but that's only because... Actually, that's really tough, because I haven't heard DT80 in a while, and I don't think I even really EQ'd it very much when I owned one. That was one of my first, actually that was my first review. So I'm not actually sure which one I would like better on those. But without EQ, I'd definitely say 599, because the biodynamic sibilant treble is just not my thing. Let's see, favorite budget planar. I don't really know if there are any really great budget planars. I think I said that the 4XX was a passable headphone. It's just way too bright for me, but it's so cheap. The M1060 is a piece of junk. I'm sorry. Not sorry. Headphone Sundara is not a huge upgrade over the 4XX, I think, but it is a little better, so that's something. I think, oh yeah, that's right, the HE560 V1. I always forget about the original HE560. That's probably the answer. Don't buy the V2 or the V3. I had somebody send me the V3, and I just straight up, I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to bother reviewing this, because it's so bad. It, like, the HE560 V3 I received, like, that somebody sent me on the way to them, was, like, so hazy, it made the 4XX sound like an HD800. I'm serious. I couldn't believe it. That was terrible. April Fool's positive review of the HD820. You guys are killing me, man. That's hilarious. I don't even want to work with Sennheiser anymore. I haven't talked to any of the PR people over there in a long time, because like the 820 released, and I'm like, I'm not getting one of these from Sennheiser, because it's just not even worth it. Let's see. Yeah, HE560 V1 is really cheap for a planar. Let's see. Why don't I do any IEM reviews? Because Rux said they're lo-fi. That's hilarious. No, you know, one of the reasons why is because I'm not calibrated to whatever the value prospect is for what IEMs are supposed to go for. Like, I thought the Andromeda was fine, but like for $1,000, I'm not sure that sound quality made sense. But I think that's kind of not an unpopular opinion of those, for example. I haven't heard that many of them, especially not high-end ones, though. So that's one of the problems. I don't know what sounds good at certain price points for IEMs. I'm good at that for full size. And that's, yeah, actually that is the other problem, is people sending me IEMs. Like, I don't want to put earwax and share that with people. Like, that's really weird. I'd have to buy all of them. Let's see. K702 upgrade with similar bass. You know, I don't think you're going to find anything that's very similar if you absolutely want to have those mids. I mean, you could try the K712, but it's a little bit different of a tuning, and it's got more bass. Honestly, people who like the K702, I don't know where you go from there if you want that same frequency response. I don't think there's anything else that quite sounds like that. It's really cool. I should do cologne reviews. I just use deodorant at work. That's not fancy. Like if I'm going out somewhere, then what do I have? I have wow. You know what? If I remember it, I'll tell you, but I already forget what it's called right now. LCD2 with EQ is upgraded to 702. It's like the opposite headphone though, Flux. That's the only problem. Solo 3s have toned down the mid bass a bit. Yeah, beats have gotten better, but I don't really know what to think of them until I actually hear one at home, because I've never had one at home. People are so interested in breakfast today. I don't know why. Honestly, I'm very pragmatic about breakfast stuff. Like, right now, I just grab like one turkey sausage patty and a banana and yogurt, and I eat that as fast as possible, and then I go to work. It's actually what I'm doing for breakfast right now. I got sick of grabbing Wawa. Some people are so addicted to it, and I can totally tell you why. Oh my god. But I've got to stop. I had to stop getting away from that stuff. I had to start getting away from that stuff. Jeez. Let's see. What do I run the Atticus from? I've got a SDAC, a regular SDAC, and Grace SDAC, that is, and JDS Atom at work. So that's what I'm using the Atticus off of. Yeah, it might differ on the source, but I don't have any tube amps to play with it right now, so couldn't tell you for sure. Let's see. What's my end game lunch? Oh my god, you guys are hilarious. I don't really have one, honestly. I just go to Panera a lot because that's way healthier than most of the other places for lunch near me. Let's see. Best headphone to listen to Metallica. Anything that doesn't have enormous amount of upper mids. It's probably, that band is probably one of the reasons why I hate upper mid range. Because like things like Injustice for All and Master of Puppets have such aggressive scooped guitar tones that if you're listening to a diffuse field headphone on that, you will be just destroyed by mid-range. So that's why I was saying before, I think some of my favorite metal headphones are probably actually, yeah, the X00 is one of them, and then of course the Atticus. And I still have my Audio-Technica A900X because those are rare, so I don't really want to sell mine. That one's so good for metal. I love the mids on that headphone because it's relaxed. It's so nice. Oh, did I totally miss one of your questions, Boris? Ask it again. I'll look for it next. Favorite metal bands. Oh man, there's too many. I mean, obviously, I'm wearing a Slipknot shirt today, so well, at least they used to be my favorite. I don't know how I feel about their like. I don't know how I feel about their new stuff, but oh, you didn't see this yet, Adil? This is a cam for Atticus with the purple that I shared on Twitter. Metal bands I'm listening to right now. I like a lot of hardcore, so I've been keeping up with Sworn Enemy and Terror, and wow, Hatebreed hasn't released something in a long time, have they? Stuff like that. I'm just using Spotify. Oh, Destruction. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, aren't they part of the German thrash trio? Yeah, Creator, Destruction, and what's the other one? Sodom. Yeah, those guys are a blast. Would any headphone improve Lars' drumming? Stop it! You're gonna kill me over here. Periphery. Yeah, that's like smart people metal. I like 4/4 metal. Like Meshuggah and Periphery is like smart people metal. It's for people who like time signatures that I can't calculate in my head. I don't know. Periphery is pretty good. That guitarist is incredible. I've seen so much. I watch a lot of like guitar and amp reviews and whatever, and I can't remember what's his name. Misha Mansour is on there all the time, and he's so good. He's so good. How much does an HD 600 benefit from a tube? I don't know. I'm thinking a lot of people like the 6X0s from tubes, at least partially because the output transformerless stuff has a high output impedance, so it boosts certain parts of the frequency response. Of course, it also adds harmonic distortion, so people might like that. People are really mad about Olive saying the 58X sounds better than 660S's. I mean, obviously the 660S has way better detail, and so do the 600 and 650. Actually, back there you can see I have the 6XX and 660. And where is it? 600's over here somewhere. If I can remember how to maneuver my chair. That's a 600. Because I just bought another 600. Because they're rare, and I wanted to hear it again. And I think I still prefer the 650 sound, actually. But that's another video, probably in itself. Yeah, sorry, I might be missing some of your guys' questions. I can't answer everything. Unless you do the super chat thingy. Let's see. Favorite Iowa. Oh, Disaster Piece, no question. Disaster Piece is the best Slipknot song. Don't at me. Why do I have no band posters? I don't know. I'm really lazy about putting up stuff. I actually kind of like the minimalistic look, which I say while stacking up tons of headphones and apparently joysticks and what. That's actually a hands-on throttle and stick joystick back there. SciTech. Yeah. So I don't know. I do have band posters. I think they're just sitting in the closet. I never even bothered to put them up. Let's see. Why do I hate weebs? No, I don't. Dude, I bought Yaxi pads. I no longer hate weebs. I haven't tried them yet, though. Forgot about mentioning that. Let's see. How disappointed was I with the new Tool track? I have not heard that album yet. You know, I never got into Tool to that degree, and I probably should have. Now that they're on Spotify, I gotta listen to them for sure. Okay, let's see what other questions we got. Dream Theater is Dream Theater is the gateway to time signature metal. That is absolutely true. I find Dream Theater so odd, and that's probably why people love their stuff, because it's so different. It's not just metal for metal's sake. It's like the opposite of Metallica, but in a nice way. It's just not my thing. I have the LCD 3s, and they're really good, but I'm wondering if I should get the 800s. They are so different, it's not even funny. If you think the LCD 3s are really dark, then yeah, sure, get the 800s. They are going to have the better soundstage, though. So, do I believe in burn-in? You know, I really don't generally believe in burn-in, but I think it's pretty interesting that the biocellulose driver that Zach puts in his headphones apparently does change with burn-in. I don't know if that's 100% true or not. I've never measured a difference. Actually, Resolve might have a couple words about that, because I was just watching his Verite review last night after I shot my review. And it's such a good review, by the way. I'm going to start listening to Resolve reviews at 1x speed, I think, now, because they're just so nice to listen to. Okay, I think I know what you guys mean when you listen to my reviews just for the voice. But anyway, he has some thoughts about burn-in there that he apparently measured some differences. Oh yeah, you never posted those measurements, did you, Resolve? I don't know if you still have them. That would be interesting to see how much the Verite changed with burn-in, if it does affect it at all. Let's see. I have the X00, the LCD2 Classic. I listen to rock and metal almost exclusively. What other headphones should I try to round out? You know, honestly, those two are great for that. Like the X00, oh my god, that is like some of the most fun I've had listening to metal. That's probably like my third headphone I would pick, along with the A900X, which is hard to find. Now it would be the A990Z if you really wanted to try one of those. And oh man, oh, you know what? This is the answer. Get yourself a ZMF Atticus. Man, this thing is a blast. Or if you don't need a closed back, you can also get the ZMF ELS. It's expensive, I know, but dude, oh man, those great metal headphones, definitely. Let's see. Most of the time, burn-in is just you getting used to the sound, which is exactly why I have to go back and forth between headphones a lot when I review anything. So otherwise, it's just going to be, you know, I'm gonna get used to the sound, and I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, this is great. And then I go to change back to the Sennheisers, and I'm like, whoa, okay, there's some coloration there that I wasn't even noticing because I started to get used to the frequency response. Any reviewer who doesn't swap between headphones often while they're, you know, listening and evaluating something, it's gonna turn out biased. Let's see. That's probably why the Nighthawk, yeah, exactly. That's probably why the Nighthawk was so obviously terrible for me, because I think all the owners of the Nighthawk listen to the Nighthawk and only the Nighthawk and nothing but the Nighthawk, and they're like, oh yeah, this is great. I got used to this. I can see why, you know, people are saying that, but oh man, much larger problems with that thing than just the frequency response. It was so grainy. You know, I think the same thing. Night Owl is better. I heard it once and I was like, wow, this is way more normal sounding than a Nighthawk, like way more normal. But yeah, I never got one in for review. Let's see. Yes, you did see my ears in the last video. You know, I actually did a lot of the reviews without wearing... You know, the reason why I wear these headphones, in case you guys don't know, is because I'm actually listening to this mic so that when I do this and I can do this, I can hear, like, the difference at what the mic is hearing in real time. That's the reason why I wear headphones while I'm recording this stuff. That's what a monitoring headphone is. So this is actually a monitoring headphone being used as a monitoring headphone. Oh, ASMR. Oh, God. I knew somebody was going to say that during this. Do I watch Steve Guttenberg? You know, I have, but I don't know. He has some interesting content. I just find reviews like my own more interesting, I guess, to listen to, because he's very, like, I don't know. He covers a lot of interesting topics in very short videos, and they're easy to digest. So I like that, but I don't know. It's just not that interesting to me. Who would win a fight between me and Zeos? You're very funny. No. I have no idea, dude. I find my own reviews more interesting. Is that what I actually said? I meant to say I find reviews like my own more interesting. Maybe not. Maybe I totally messed it up. How many amps do I use for listening? You know, I only really use the 789 and the S-Stack balance. I don't actually have any tube amps. So if you're looking for people who are going to talk about different amps reacting to headphones, I'm probably not the best for that. Actually, that's not really true. I do tend to, at least at one point, try to listen to them through something really obviously less good, like this OnePlus dongle. And I have a Redstone ES100 as well. So I usually run headphones through those three, but not like high-end tube amps or something like that. Let's see. I have huge ears. Not massive, but definitely large. Oh, crap. Someone's going to quote me on that now. That was very bizarre. Stevie G is getting older. Is he really? Going off the deep end now? I have no idea. I don't know. His short videos are fine, but I just don't really care about the topics that much. That's like the 5th time you've posted that joke. Jesus. What's the worst headphone I've heard? Oh, stop it. Oh my God. Definitely the O Bravo. No, I'm not reading that out loud. Definitely those O Bravos, man. Oh, God. Don't quote me on the stuff that happens on Discord. Anyway. You just totally ruined what I was going to say. Yeah, the worst headphone I've heard is probably the O Bravo headphones. Oh, man. Those are like a frequency response meme, and for good reason. If you ever look at them on Tiles reviews, holy crap, they're awful. Yeah, actually, I have never heard... Have I ever heard? Yeah, I don't think I've heard an ultrasound before. That's crazy. I can't wait to hear, like, the Tiles favorite. And by favorite, I mean least favorite headphone they did for that infamous review. Oh, man, that's going to be really, really funny. I'm not sure if you want to buy an O Bravo, because they're, like 3 or 4 grand. Like, Max Settings and I walked up to their booth at Can Jam, and we sat down and we listened to them. And then, of course, the guy behind the counter is like, yeah, we think this is like one of the best headphones for this price range. And they were costing like 2 and 3 grand. And I just looked at him like, sure. It's all you can really do in the moment at those. You gotta be nice to the manufacturers, but oh, there's some really bad stuff. I think the other one that was really awful was the Tacony Blue. Holy crap, that's a bad T50 mod. Like, I put it on, like that one, I didn't even have a filter at all. I put it on, I listened for like 5 or 10 seconds. There was a massive amount of sibilance and treble and this huge dip, I think, in the upper bass. And I took them off and I just literally laughed out loud. I'm like, that can't be. That's probably the other worst headphone I've heard. All right, let's see. Anyway, I hope you got what you wanted there. When you ask me about the worst headphones, it tends to be hilarious to talk about that. Let's see. Spirit Audio Grado clones are really that bad? I hadn't even heard of that. Do people actually buy ultrasounds? I have no idea. I see them sometimes on the headphone subreddit, but not that much. Let's see. SHP 9500 equals LCD4 because of THX. Yep. Let's see. Headphones with great soundstage. HD800. That's an easy one. Do I recommend 840s ignoring the build? The Shure SRH840? I mean, they're alright. I thought they were okay. I just still think that, and it's too bad, and I don't think they're made anymore, but the K553 was just the best closeback in that price range. What amp do I use? I was talking about this earlier. I have the 789, the THX 789, and the SDAC balanced right now. Because everybody yelled at me for using a topping D50. I stopped using it. Wow, that was... Sorry. But I was just trying to show you the D50. Here it is. Sitting here doing nothing. But I am going to A-B against this thing, and we'll see what happens. If I even notice a difference between the SDAC and that. Hooked up to the 789. Modified 598 is better than the HD800. Yeah, that sounds like people on Discord. Yeah, the K550 Mark III is the same thing as the K553 Mark II. For some reason, they decided to make the same headphone, name it differently, and then have a US and an international version. No clue why. What's wrong with the D50? People who know what a good DAC sounds like apparently hate the D50. Don't know why. Or maybe they don't like it because it's got an ESS chip in it. At least I think this has got this ESS Sabre DAC. What does that say? 768 kilohertz DSD 512 USB DAC. That should have been enough to disqualify me from buying it. As soon as things start, advertising ultra high sampling rates and DSD, that just turns me off immediately. What's the best closeback under $1,000? I used Atticus. Yeah, pretty much. I don't think you can get an Atticus new for under $1,000, but if you buy one used, yeah, definitely still my favorite. Yeah, right. Every time I talk about the HD800 soundstage, everyone is like, "Oh no, K1000's better." Yeah, like the K1000 is readily available today, and they break all the time too. I keep hearing about people having like a lot of issues with them, but that's because they're so old. At this point, not the people, the headphones. $800 Atticus pretty common. Is that what they're going for now? Okay, I'd say that's pretty fair. I'd rather spend that than buy a Aeon Flow closed. Oh god, how much does it leak? It is mostly closed, actually. I wouldn't call it a semi-closed. I guess semi-closed is better than saying semi-open because it's mostly closed. It doesn't leak that much, honestly. It's not as closed as like a 280 or a 380 like this, but it leaks so little at work that it doesn't really bug anybody. I used to have an office at my previous job right next to somebody, and I was using them and while I was evaluating Zach's pair he sent down for review at work, and they were fine. It's pretty great. I think the Icon isolates a little bit more, though. Let's see. I think that's because of the pads. Let's see. ADX 5000. No, I don't know about the flagship killer, but I will say that the newest Audio-Technica is that one. And you know what else is really surprising? The AP2000 Ti Audio-Technica is really surprisingly good. I had no idea what that was at CanJam, and they put it on. I think that was the closeback. And I put it on and I'm like, whoa, this has got some actual detail for being an Audio-Technica. And then I took it off and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, how much is that? And they're like, it's like $2,000. And I'm like, oh, okay. That makes sense now. Yeah, Audio-Technica's ceiling of detail and sound quality seems to have increased significantly with whatever they did for the ADX 5000. Although I don't know if I'm sold on the frequency response of those things. They're definitely different. Yeah, these are 380 Pros, yep. I actually kind of want to try the HD 300. That's a new one. But we'll see. That looks like it's some kind of HD 280 mod, though, so I don't know. I definitely like the 380s over the 280s. None of the frequency responses or details anywhere near good on these Sennheisers. I've already reviewed them. The reason why I use them is because they don't kill me with treble when I'm on axis like this with the microphone. Let's see. Do I prefer the LC3 over the LCDX? You know, I wish I got a chance to compare those two things back to back. The good LCDXs, which hopefully by now they've sorted out the issues with the old ones. I know that some of them were way better than others because I've heard a bad one and it was real bad. But I think I like the LC3 a little bit more. I think those two are pretty close on par detail-wise. Like the LCDX, when it's good, is really high resolution. But I think the LCDX suffered in soundstage width, if I remember right. I definitely reviewed it against, what was it, the LCD2 Classic, yeah. And I think the LCD2C had a noticeably wider stage. So I'm assuming the LCD3 also has a wider stage like the 2. And so the LCD3 would probably be my pick in ultimate, abilities. But they're both pretty good. But if you don't need the efficiency of the LCDX, I think the LCD3 makes sense. Although you don't want to pay a brand new price for those things. They're really expensive for what they are. Let's see. Dynamic headphones in general image better than planars? No, not really. Not all planars blend the images together. I don't think you can generalize. The more I talk about the differences between dynamics and planars and stats, the less I think that some of the stuff that people say about what's inherent about those driver technologies is actually inherent. It's just a lot of it is up to how it's implemented. That's actually something that Sankar said as well when I interviewed him, kind of, and had a Q&A with Odyssey that one time. You can make a really bad planar. You can make a really good planar. You can make planars with tiny sound stages, large sound stages, awful dynamics, good dynamics. Depends. Have I ever heard the HE1000? Yes, one of my favorite headphones. I never reviewed it, but I had an HE1000 V1. It was very, very good. Needed a little bit of treble cut from the top end, but only like 3 dB or something like that, and it was crazy. Like, I almost sold my HD800. Like, if I wasn't a reviewer, I would have just bought that. It's too bad also the build quality doesn't give me a lot of hope for that thing lasting for many, many years. It's a really good headphone. I did try the LCD4Z. It's not quite on the level of the LCD4. It definitely trades off some detail. So if you're thinking about getting a lighter LCD4, it's not the same thing. Is it possible to plug a JDS add-on? Oh, that's who you are. Okay, I didn't realize. Is it possible to plug a JDS Atom and an S-DAC into an iPad Pro? Yeah, I think that'll work. The S-DAC, you just, as long as USB DACs are supported, it should work okay. You need a type, a lightning to USB, I guess, for that. And then you can plug it into the Atom. Just don't forget to bring up the power cable for the Atom, obviously. I don't know how much power the iPad will put out, though. That's slightly concerning. So I would definitely try that ahead of time if you're going to try to run that whole thing. Let's see. Yeah, the HE5 definitely had issues with cracking wood, apparently. Best wireless headphones under 300. A used Odyssey Mobius, probably. Have I gotten to 2-channel speakers? Someone was asking about speakers earlier. I love my headphones, but there is nothing like the experience of speakers in a room. They just can get really expensive quickly. I think you hit the nail on the head there. And the other problem with speakers in a room is the room. The room is very hard to get right. That's one of the issues that prevents me from upgrading my speakers further. I was saying my home theater in the other room behind me has got ELAC B6s in the front, ELAC C5. I forgot to mention the subwoofer. It's a big F12. So I have a total Z Reviews home theater thing going on out there. But yeah, I'm not even that big of a fan of the ELACs. But anyway, that's besides the point. But if I were to have a real speaker setup, I'd want to have probably LSR 305s in here, like in front of me on this desk. But then I would have to treat this room more, which is a pain. Let's see. Is there a well-built planar? Yeah, the Odysseys are pretty well built now. I don't think they really have any issues with the wood cracking. Not anymore. Oh, and you know what else is a really well-built planar? Mr. Speakers. 2. The Ether 2's build quality is just stupid. Let's see. What's the headphone I'm wearing in most of my videos? Yeah, I get this question a lot. I probably should just put it in the description. This is a Sennheiser HD380 Pro. And in case people want to confirm that, there you go. So, I did review this headphone also. So, you can just watch that review if you want the details. But the main reason why I use this thing is because it's comfortable. It doesn't kill me with treble when I'm on axis with the microphone. It's really just used as a real-time monitor. I've got this XLR Rode NT1 going into a USB interface, and I'm listening to it in real time. That's how it works. Yamaha HS8. I thought people said the Yamahas are a little bit off in the frequency response compared to those JBLs, but I don't know. I haven't spent a lot of time with them. Have I heard the WF-1000 XM3? I haven't heard any of those. Actually, that's not true. I think I heard the original Sony full-size WH-1000, I guess is what it was at that time. And that was pretty surprisingly decent. I don't know what the newest revision is like now. That was years ago at Z's place. I tried the Sony full-size, but yeah. So I don't have that much of an opinion on that. Do I still have any parametric EQ settings for DT770s? I didn't even EQ those back then. Back then I wasn't even equalizing. Yeah, I went through this phase basically, if you go back in my channel you'll find it, where I tried to find the best of the best with no EQ at all. And then after a while I realized, well, I'm far too strict about what frequency response I want, so I'm just going to get back into EQ, so that's what I did. Let's see. Magico or Rockport speakers? Okay. I haven't been to any of the shows that actually have speaker setups like RMAF yet, but maybe I'll go to an RMAF eventually. We'll see. I like the guy in That Metal Show without headphones. I don't even know what that is. Oh, yeah, the Empyrean. Wow, how did I forget about that? Yeah, the Empyrean's got like a $10,000 build. It's crazy. I should get a DBX 286S. Yes, I definitely have seen that because I watch, what's his name, Julian Krause's videos. It would be useful to have some compression here because the level on my videos tends to be a little bit low because I want to make sure it doesn't actually clip. And the DBX would help that a lot. Let's see. Have I heard the Rad Zero? Honestly, not long enough to make any kind of serious impressions about it, but there were a couple at Can Jam earlier this year. Long-term opinion on the 6T. Oh man, it's so fast. Dude, this is like the best phone I've ever had. I don't even know if I'm going to get a new phone this year. We'll see. That 8 gigs of RAM just kills, man. So good. What EQ program and music software to use? I am using Spotify, and I've been using Equalizer APO and the Peace plugin for it for quite some time now. It's just an open source GUI for it. If you bought an M100 Master, did they change the sound of the M100 with that? I'm not really a big M100 fan, actually. I've heard it a couple times. It's got a little bit of annoyingness to the upper mids and the 10K peak on it. Thought it was smoother than it was, but let's see. What do we got here? DT80 or X2? Oh man, I can't believe I still haven't reviewed the Fidelio X2 yet. How is that thing still super popular now? I thought it was like long discontinued. Do I hate the Grado sound signature? Yeah, generally I don't like it, and it's mainly because they're trying to sell like 1960s and 1970s sound quality as brand new, top of the line. I mean, if you get a SR60E or an 80E, maybe, but like, I don't think the sound quality goes up a ton from there, no matter how much you upgrade, which is really wild. It doesn't make any sense to me. DT 770 Pro. Oh my god. In case you guys haven't heard earlier, you definitely need to read the pinned comment on that. I don't think the 80 ohm version of the 770 is really sounds like I described in that video way back when. But however, I would say for FPS games, yeah, it should be okay. But for music, nah, that's not quite my thing. It's very bright and has a lot of bass. It's a very, very V-shaped kind of a sound. So have I tried the SR1A? No, but that is one of the top items on my list to try. The, what is it, RAAL, I think it is, SR1A. That's the ribbon headphone, if I remember right. Yeah, definitely want to try that. That's like number one on my list of things to hear for CanJam 2020. Dynamics on the HE1000 is poor. Yeah, they're a little compressed, that's true. But the treble and the mid-range were just, oh man, they were so good. I haven't heard the V2 of the HE1000, only the V1. Thoughts on AudioQuest Dragonfly DAC amps? Yeah, not really. I don't really have any. New Ford Escape looks happy. What? I have not seen that yet. That's probably hilarious. Let's see. What headphone was my favorite regarding bass quality? LCD4, no question. That thing is just the closest to FFFFFF that I've ever had. To quote Zeos for a bass and a headphone. Let's see. Tesla ruined Bayer. Yeah, actually kind of did. Like the 1990 and the 1770 are just, ugh. Yeah, you know, it's funny. Biodynamic themselves sent me that 1770, and they sent me the Emron home as well. Those things were the worst, like, Bayers I had ever heard. And then somebody else, an independent viewer, sends me the 1990s. So that's why that ended up being so much more positive. Well, there's Denfi. That's why the 1990 review ended up being so much more positive. But now that I think about it, that was too positive of a review, and I don't even stand by it anymore. The 880 is way better value. At least I think. Let's see. Will I review more Stax headphones? Send me your Stax headphones. You know, the ultimate comparison that someday, and I keep telling Flux this, is I gotta do the 007 versus the LCD4. That's like the ultimate showdown, at least for me. Let's see. Oh, trying to get a seal on the Rad Zero is really difficult? Really? That's interesting. I haven't had that problem with anything else. Let's see. Anyone try the SR1A? Yeah. I honestly don't know if anyone else has tried it or what they thought about it. Although I heard a couple people say that it's really, really detailed. So we'll see what happens. I think that's about all I know about it. Yeah, if you don't have an amp, then you probably... Honestly, if you don't have an amp, you might want to go all the way down to the 32 ohm. Just to make sure it'll play loud enough. Yep, the 660S does not have quite as good a timbre as the other ones do. Yep, I recently was re-comparing all of that stuff. Have I tried the Headphone? Oh, is that the ribbon? I couldn't remember which one was the ribbon. I don't even remember which one is which anymore. Yeah, that's also like those two, the SR1A and the Headphone. It's like the Headphone. I'm just going to call it that. It's like Doug DeMuro, the Brat or whatever. Those two are on like the top of my list for CanJam. Let's see. We got here. Aesthetic pics of me. No aesthetic pics of me. There is no such thing. Have I heard the 820? Yes. It's not great. Oh, the Rad Zero gets a seal, but you can't move? That's terrible. Yeah, you definitely don't want to wear the SR1A in an office. People will think you're like someone from a different planet, most likely. It already looks bad enough with the Atticus. Will a 4XX or a 6XX do better with a cheap amp like an E10K? Yeah, probably the 4XX with that. You know, I used to have an E10K, and once again, I could barely tell the difference between that and other amps. It worked okay for my office setup. It's not super powerful, though. I'm not sure if I would want to drive a Sennheiser off of it. That's kind of borderline, I think, for how much power it puts out. So close to pulling the trigger on a T1. I'm glad I didn't waste $700 for slightly better imaging than the HD800. Yeah, the T1's imaging is just really, really, really precise. But I cannot live with that treble. It is so bad. Like, in terms of incredible like treble cannoniness to it. Like it moves the 6K peak the HD800 has up more, and it's just real narrow, and it just kills. The thing sounds so metallic. I'm just not a fan. If you go back to Sonic Sense's old, recordings of headphones, that's definitely what it sounds like. Just this huge sheen over the treble all the time. It's just, yeah, I couldn't. I owned it briefly, and I've just flipped it. It was bad. Headphone is an AMT. Okay, air motion transformer. That's right. And then I think the SR1A is just a regular ribbon, if I remember right. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Any cheap amps that can power them enough to sound crispy. Oh, God, you've been watching too much MKBHD. The Team Crispy. That's like the funniest term. DT770 without an amp. Yeah, that'd be okay without an amp, although you might not get quite enough power off of a motherboard to run that thing. That's why I said I'm not sure 100% how that's going to work out. 32 ohm will play really loud. The 80 ohm should play plenty loud enough. Yeah, laptops can be really weak. Some regular desktop PCs, I would say, would probably be okay with. And some phones, it might be borderline, but it should be loud enough off of most sources. But if you want headroom, you're going to want an amp for that. Let's see. SR1A has lots of detail, can lack bass depending on how you set it up. Okay. You heard off a $45,000 system? Holy crap. I swear, people spend far more on the amps and DACs than headphones. That's why that's part of the reason why I'm like, what is going on? Let's see. KSC75 or Samsung SR850. Wow. That's a really strange comparison, man. I mean, the cost is an even better value there, but I would just pick a Porta Pro if you're in that price range. But that's just me. They're pretty warm. Do I think headphones over $400 are actually worth the asking price? Yeah, you see, that's just, I don't know, that's just too subjective. It's very hard for me to try to quantify the sound quality of a headphone, It's really difficult. And yes, there is a certain sound quality I expect when you go up to like the $800,000, $900,000 range, but it's not like you're getting double the detail or something like that. So I think a lot of people who are buying headphones that are really expensive, now there is a difference between, like the big jumps are probably like, the $20, $30 to the $100, and then $100 to like $200 to $400 range, and the next like noticeable jump is up to like $1,000, and then the next noticeable jump is up to like $3, $4, $5, and $6,000. But those jumps get smaller and smaller as they go up. So yeah, so it depends on how much you're willing to spend, really. And yeah, everything in this hobby is subjective. That's pretty true. Although I tend to say that detail and soundstage are a lot less subjective, because like headphones either can reproduce resolution in music or they can't. And soundstage is either wide or narrow, and imaging is either specific or not. But whether you prefer a headphone to be more intimate or wide, that's subjective. And which frequency response curve you prefer is also subjective. So I try to focus more on the stuff that people are going to more specifically find objective, like detail and soundstage. It's one reason why I've started to structure reviews that way. Which phone for my HE6? Oh my god. Stop it, Den. That's horrible. What if you used your phone's DAC into a speaker amp and then powered the HE6? Would that sound good? The thonking emoji on that one. Let's see. KSC75 out of the Dave. Yeah, that's another good combination. Metallica or Megadeth? Megadeth has seemingly always been more technical. So I really like Mustaine's chops at playing guitar, but Metallica is just, I don't know. I've always preferred Metallica's style, though. Let's see. Flux is the first person who hates the Rad Zero. No, I don't think he's the first person. I just can't say anything about it because I don't have it at home. I never have had it at home. Let's see. What's my full-time job? I am a software engineer. I write code from coffee. Yeah, Sean Olive might be right when he says detail may just be frequency response. The problem is we don't know how to see whether a headphone has more detail via measurements. That's a really big topic of debate, and it really surprises me how many people are taking ratings, frequency response charts, and being like, oh look, this one scores higher, it's got to be better. It doesn't work that way. That's why people are so up in arms about the whole, 58X scored way better. Yeah, sure, it might be closer to their target curve. Do you prefer that target curve? Maybe not, maybe you do. But how do we figure out what the soundstage and the detail is like on that frequency response? Because a lot of in my experience, detail has nothing to do with those frequency response measurements. That's the problem. And it should become obvious that that's the case if you've been in the hobby long enough and listened to enough things. So, but I can't argue with the AES guys because they're probably right. The difference is we just can't show if they're right yet. But their guesses as to where some of these things like soundstage and detail come from are way better than mine because I'm not as informed as they are. I haven't been studying this with a PhD or something like they have. Let's see. You guys really want me to review food or something now? What is going on? Oh, the Cooler Master MH752. Yeah, I have not heard of that yet. Or the Tagstar Pro 82. No idea. Let's see. What else we got? Let's see how many times I'm going to say let's see again. Now, I think Z's the better food reviewer. Doesn't he have... yeah, Z Cooks, right? Yeah, there's the channel to watch. Meal? Stop it. Meal 571. You guys are just... I cannot, Nagy. I cannot. That's hilarious. Yeah, the whole virtual 7.1 being our future thing is pretty interesting. I'll start believing in that when everybody starts putting out music in 7.1. Until then, yeah, stereo is kind of the thing. That's one of my problems with that. Let's see. Ratings is a big joke. Ratings it's nice that they have a head and torso simulator, and I'll be even more impressed if they upgrade that to an even better hats. But yeah, people are taking the numbers that they produce. The whole idea of trying to put numbers onto scores for how good a headphone sounds is really bad. I mean, to my ears that's difficult, and you're going to try to make it as close as possible using a graph. That's it's just more complicated than that. Finally managed to tune in. Welcome to the live stream. Thanks. I'm doing fine today. Just basically having an evening free here that I figured I would stream, even though I probably have the wrong live Q&A number. This is probably number 8. I don't know anymore. Foobar equalizer sucks. Yeah, it kind of is. I don't even, does it do parametric? I don't even know if it does parametric. I don't think it does. I think it's just graphical. That's why I use equalizer APO and piece. Yeah, my goal kind of was to become the new Tile, but I can't be that if I don't have hats. But at the same time, I'm not about to put $50,000 of measurement equipment in my place. Yes, I just don't have the means for that. It's funny, Tile and I were both technical, he was, I am currently technical people. I think Tile started out, he was a repair technician for scanning electron microscopes, if I remember correctly. He wrote that somewhere. I don't remember where I read that, but that's pretty awesome. So he obviously knows measurement equipment, so it makes sense as to why he became legendary like he did. Meze Empyrean has slightly better detail with a silver cable. I have not compared types of, what's it called? I have not compared types of cable material there. Yeah, I only have that one like Hawaiian looking button down shirt, and I think I wore that, I forget which review, maybe it was the LCD2. That was pretty funny. I clearly need way more Hawaiian shirts, like dedicated ones. Interfidelity needs to bring me on board. Thanks, but yeah, I was never contacted by them about that. But I'm just glad that Rafe stopped writing about headphones. I think they have Grover Neville something writing about headphones now, and that's already been an upgrade. But now we just need measurements, because I don't know what happened to Tyler's rig. It just got shipped, and then no one talked about it ever again, and it's been too long. But somebody has his rig somewhere on Earth. Just don't know what's going on with that. That's what it was. The LCD2C and the LCDX video was the Hawaiian shirt. You guys remember better than I do. What's the best close back with a wide soundstage under $150? If soundstage is the only thing that's important, yeah, probably the DT770. Nah, Stereophile never said anything to me. As far as I know, Tile posted privately about himself retiring in Superbest Audio Friends before he did retire. So he was trying to poach somebody from there, I think. So I wasn't even on his radar. I don't even know if he knows who I was. I sent him a couple things, like the K240 diffuse field is mine. The A900X that he measured is mine. KSC75 he measured was mine. Was it KSC? Yeah, I think it was KSC75. A couple other low quality IEMs were also mine. So I contributed, but yeah, I don't think he knew who I was. Blah, 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 blah. Surrounded sound and soundstage, the same thing. Oh, you like virtual surround? Yeah, that's probably what they're thinking of. Surrounded sound? That's hilarious. That's like the most non-audiophile thing I've ever heard. I need a white beard. Yeah, well, if I get old enough while still doing this and my ears don't completely fail me, then I'll probably end up with the white beard. I really will become the next Tile. Crap, this is not good. Or maybe it is, I don't know. Get APO piece to work with ASIO. No, as far as I know, that's definitely not possible, because the equalizer APO uses APO. I forget what that is. It's like an audio processing object, I believe. I was actually looking at the source code for equalizer APOs. I got curious the other day, and it's using something within Windows that allows you to apply those equalizers, and that only works with the Windows stack of sounds. That's why you can't do it on top of Wasapi or ASIO, apparently. Review glasses frames for headphone comfort. Yeah, I don't even know I don't know how thick these are. I just got new glasses. You guys probably noticed. A little bit larger than my previous ones. I don't know. I've never really had much of a problem with glasses frames sealing most of the time. Probably because most of the pads on headphones I have are plush enough to pretty much not be affected by it. Sound being more subjective and sound differences becoming smaller as you go up in price. What is your favorite headphone? Well, what is my favorite headphone in terms of, like value, I guess? Yeah, I mean, I would say that the most you would ever really want to spend, the most I've spent that I felt was actually made sense, was buying a used LCD2 phaser for I think it was like 600 something. Yeah. Any more expensive than that, and you really, really start to get into diminishing returns, even though there is an improvement. But that's way up there, in my opinion, at least for most people. Where's Tile's rig? Yeah, I don't know. Apparently it was shipped to somebody. I forget where. I feel like they were in the UK, but I don't remember. What's more accurate, hats or grass? Yeah, funny. See, a grass is a hats. Yeah, okay, you got it. B&K or grass. That's a question for Mad Economist. I have no idea. That's a really good question. I believe they're both very, very precise now. But the newest, hottest one is the 5128, I believe. If you look up 5128C, I can't remember which brand it is. I think that's B&K. That's supposed to be like the most accurate. It's got the high resolution pinout. They're actually accurate beyond 8K or something like that. Really unusual, because most hats don't promise accuracy beyond like 8 to 10K, believe it or not, even though we've been looking at those measurements for a long time on Tile's rig. It's okay to be the next Todd, just don't retire too soon. This is still just something I do for fun. I'm just one of you guys, and I decided to become a reviewer, and somehow this following happened. That's all I see. Would prefer Metal to freely do whatever and not have to schedule on something that isn't his career. Yeah, exactly. I don't think I'm going to make a full-time job out of reviewing headphones, unfortunately, as much as you guys probably want that. Yeah, Flux is the headphone reviewer supplier. If I'm not mistaken, this is Flux from Discord, quote-unquote. So you've heard people like Joshua Valor mention that. I have the LCD4 that Max Settings, myself, and Josh Valor, and I think even Z reviewed is Flux's. Let's see. Voice meter. I think Equalizer APO works using voice meter in some strange way, something like that. My face changes a lot between reviews, probably because of the beard, and then recently I have new glasses. Joshua Valor's supplier, yes. Yeah, 5128 is B&K, that's right. How do I test headphone speed? This is a really hard term to define. I don't even like it very much anymore. I used to say speed and detail were about the same thing. Now I'd say speed is probably something like dynamics, which is kind of like the way headphones react to sudden impulses like drums and stuff like that. But yeah, you need like a high dynamic range recording. Let's see. I'm Z minus the rants and extra enthusiasm that makes the reviews 40 minutes long. That sounds like the biggest roast somebody has typed on here. The best way to buy the LCD4 is to buy it through a firm. Really, they charge 20% APR on the financing on Odyssey's website? Wow. I didn't know that was that expensive. What in the world, man? Let's see. I sold off the whole black market. When did I do that? Oh, Flux did? Oh. Let's see. Anyone else got the questions? Let's see. Do pretty headphones sound better? There's a good one. These, yeah. 40 minutes of people saying these. What was your question? Oh, there it is. I was wondering if it's possible to compress audio with Peace. You know what? I'm gonna look right now because I don't remember. There is a effects control panel, I think. Let me see if I can find it. I know they have crossfeed in here. Let's see, we've got reverse channels, crossfeed, dampen left and right, up mix, down mix 5.1. Wow. Compression though? Yeah, I don't see a compressor in here. Most audiophiles are probably not looking to compress, but expand the dynamic range anyway. More effects. Oh man, even more. There's actually bass and treble knobs in the effects section of Equalizer APO. I never noticed that before. Yeah, I don't see a compressor in there. Let's see. Would I say the 770s are fast? I honestly don't know how good the dynamics are on the 770s now. Oh, hello, Kayla. I have no idea if I would say the 770s are fast now because it's been a while since I heard the bass on those things. Can top-of-the-line planars match the detail capability of Stack's E-Stats? You know, it's something funny about the LCD4 is that Shankar is commonly bragging about how the diaphragm on that headphone is actually thinner than electrostats, some electrostats. So maybe. Haven't you reviewed the LCD4 already? I can't even remember Resolve. But yeah, it's pretty close. Orpheus is too much of a hassle for celebrities. Yeah, you just buy Sonus. Did I say Sonus? Faber? Is that right? Is that the right one? Just buy those and throw them in a room. That's all you need. How do I test headphones detail retrieval? That's a good one. So a lot of that is actually the difference between headphones that I've heard on the same tracks over and over. And when you listen to a lot of headphones with really good recorded, actually when you listen to really high-end headphones that have really good detail, the biggest thing that jumps out is that tracks sound, and this is actually how I put it the first time I heard the HD800, they sound more distinct to one another. And you should be able to pick out that distinctness in the quality of the mastering between the tracks. But also a lot of it is really simple stuff, like how do hi-hats get reproduced, and how accurate sounding is the distortion in electric guitar. Is it like hazed over sounding, or is it like exactly as it came out of the amp? And like no matter how I EQ, the treble has this limitation on how like crisp and accurate it sounds to a real life pretty much performance. And so that's how you change between detail levels. No, that's how you tell the difference between detail. I'm going to wrap this up in about 15 minutes, I think. So let's see what else we got. Have I heard the Focal Utopia? Yeah, the Utopia is a really aggressive headphone, but I think it's also very, very, very detailed. I had not heard it at home yet, so that's just a meat impression. So I listened primarily to FLAC. No, I have a couple of versions of songs I use the most to test headphones in FLAC, but I don't generally listen to it. Yeah, I like the 380s, but only as a monitor. I literally don't use it for anything else. It's the only thing I use it for is monitoring. What headphone surprised me the most? Honestly, I think it was probably Ananda recently, because wow, like I just couldn't believe what was coming out of that headphone running off of a OnePlus dongle. Earlier this year at Can Jam 2019, like what in the world? That was really, really, really crazy. Like it's miles better than the Sundara sounding as far as I could tell. So I do want to get one of those eventually at home. Oh, you haven't done the L700 yet, Resolve. Okay. I look like a Connecticut man. No, I'm from New Jersey. That's probably worse. Very funny. There are Nighthawks that are good at Area 51. You guys heard it here first. L700 is a downgrade in detail from LCD4. Ooh, that's really interesting. I never got a chance to compare the LCD4 and the L700 side by side. Have I heard any Abyss headphones? Yes. Actually, you know what? Someone asked me about stuff that surprised me. That's one of them. The Abyss Diana 5. Whoa, that's detail. And I definitely want to review one of those eventually. They are crazy, but they're also $4,000. However, the full Abyss, the 1266, fits weird. It weighs a lot, and its frequency response just didn't sound right to me. It was probably really, really detailed, but yeah, texture of the sounds. Thank you. That's something I was trying to say with trying to describe what detail was. Detail is the difference between listening to an MDR 7506 and a 650. Independent of the frequency response. Like a really non-detailed headphone, just to give you an example, a really grainy headphone would be a 7506, definitely. Grainy, I usually use that to describe the treble and the mid-range. For the bass, I tend to say that the bass detail is better or worse. Because grain is like this hashy kind of overlaid sound on everything that obscures the detail. So it's kind of like the opposite of detail. Whereas bass detail is being able to pick out individual instruments playing in the bass, or like bass lines that move around with fundamental notes in electronic music, and being able to pick those differences out in the sub bass. That's kind of like the bass equivalent of what detail is. I don't know if the Ananda is super detailed or not, but its frequency response was way more to my liking than other hi-fi mans. That's why I was really surprised, because I tend to find hi-fi mans pretty bright, even if they are really, really good in resolution when you go up in price. But oh, the Edition XX was so disappointing though. The DT990 Pro is crap sounding and Ninja uses that headphone. Yeah, I know. You're not wrong. 009 and 007 outclassed Abyss in detail. Ooh. That's fighting words. See, this is exactly why I want to have 007 and LCD4 in the same room. I have no idea till I hear them myself. Have I heard the Empyreans? Yes, I reviewed them, so you can find that review on the channel. Let's see. Ananda has the best frequency response of all the hi-fi cans. Yeah, but you really like the Aria, though. But yeah, no, honestly, for my taste, I think the Ananda, that's something that really was bugging me. Like, should I get the Ananda or should I just get the LCD2 and be done? And now I'm going to be really interesting to try to compare those two when I do get an Ananda. Let's see, have I heard the K275? Yeah, actually, AKG contacted me recently about those, or what's left of them. So basically, Harman/Samsung. And I think they want to send me a K371. You can Google that one. That's their new closed-back Pro model, I think. And I think the K275 is the other one. So those reviews might be coming up after I do Verite, if I get the Verite in soon. Let's see. Another way to compress game audio. Yeah, see, I used to do that all the time. I'm basically a retired hardcore gamer that never decided to go pro. And what we used to do is we used to turn on, I had an X5 back in the day, and then I had an Asus Zonar, and pretty much all those gaming sound cards have options to, I don't even remember what it's, I don't know what it's called now, but they had heavy compressors that you could turn on in addition to virtual surround, so we always used those. I know people here are going to hate virtual surround, but honestly, I found it really useful back in the day, and some of the implementations were pretty convincing if your headphones had a good enough soundstage. So that disqualifies me from half the chat. Let's see. Yamaha MT8. Oh, is that the Yamaha headphones? Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, people get really triggered when people throw out the word grain. Grain doesn't exist. My 58X is amazing. That's usually the next sentence. LCD4 bass is so good. It's crazy. I have never heard that SC2000. I know that that's a major bass cannon. Who even makes that? Was that JVC? Is that who makes that? Yeah. Have I ever tried doing ASMR? Everyone wants me to do ASMR. That's really funny. I don't have anything great for that. And you definitely don't want me to use this because it's terrible as a microphone because it's got so much ear gain in a horrible region of 4.5K. Seriously. Like, Resolve, if you want to laugh, try recording your voice on the mini DSPs. It's horrible. But I would need something stereo probably in order for ASMR to work at all. Let's see. Yeah, that sounds right. Aria is better from a technical standpoint, but non-tonality was better. Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking is going to happen to me. Does the M50X have better mids than the L700? Stop it. Yeah, this is a point I was making earlier. $4,000 is a quote-unquote bargain for the sound quality you can get on headphones. To get that level of sound, you're looking at spending $20,000 on speakers and then more for an amp. Yeah, that's the thing, you know. You can get really, but to take the opposite side, it's interesting. You can get, I would say, nearly $1,000 sound quality on headphones if you buy good monitors, like an LSR 305, but you have to have a really good room. That's one of the problems with speakers is the room treatments. Can we praise the new Type S accurate concept? Obviously. Dude, how good does that thing look? Seriously. They better put a J-Series twin turbo in that or I'm going to be mad because J-Series always sound incredible. I miss the TL because of that, but it definitely needed more power. So if they execute that Type S just right, oh, it's going to be incredible. I think it might beat the Q60 now, if they can give it like almost 400 horse. Ninja upgraded to the K12? Are you serious? Dude, that's like by far the worst possible upgrade. K371 have oval cups, yeah, I know. Which could be nice. Grain is real. I have a 595. You know, I like the 595's mid-range. It's a lot less shouty than the 598 and the 599. But yeah, it also drops off a cliff in the bass, unlike the higher-end Sennheisers. And yeah, it's not quite the most detailed thing. Oh, you actually have an SC2000, Den? Oh man, yeah, you gotta send me that at some point. Oh, and send back my H6 with the 650. Let's see. What do we got here? Have I heard anything better than the HD800 for gaming? I wouldn't say so. I mean, maybe the T1 has got better imaging, but yeah, that frequency response is crazy. I'm just not a fan of either of those, actually, for frequency response. Thoughts on the 599 since I last reviewed them. 599 it has come down a lot in price, so it's actually a pretty good deal now. I think it's like 150 bucks. And if you're a gamer, that's what I'd recommend instead of the 58X because it's got that wider soundstage. Headphone plastic squeaking ASMR. Yeah, somebody give me a Stax and I'll make it squeak all the time. You used the mini DSP ears by accident as your mic for work meetings. Yeah, it's, oh man, it's bad. Let's see. I don't trust all of Sound Demo. Well, yeah, he accused the crap out of the mini DSP ears, and the mini DSP ears is only like a rough estimate of what a headphone would sound like. So yeah, that's why I don't do. I was thinking about doing sound demos at one point because I saw him doing them, and I thought about him again, and then I thought about it some more, and then yeah, I decided to stop thinking about doing that. Let's see, what do we got now? Gamers love the 6K and 10K peaks. Yeah, right. Oh, especially with the kind of microphones on other people's headsets. Oh man, do gamers even use headsets anymore, or are they all using XLR mics now? I like totally ruined my gaming clan, and they like all have XLR mics now. Because I got one, and then we're all like, yeah, not good enough. And so everyone got an XLR mic. I don't even know what they use now. Let's see. Yeah, streamers' first priority is definitely not sound quality. And yeah, a lot of people are just associating the DT990 as Ninja's headphone, yep. Yeah, the Neurophone. Oh no. That was an excellent review by Olive. That one is hilarious. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, most people in the hobby live with other people. That's true. So it is difficult to have speakers, not to mention the sound treatment, like I was saying earlier. Regular gamers use headsets, USB mics. Yeah, content creators use XLR mics. Yeah, or as streamers. A lot of like big name streamers have XLR mics now too. Yeah. Oh man, they had Salmon clip-on. I think I reviewed that a long time ago. Yeah, what happened to the Odyssey planar mic? I haven't seen that show up in like years since it was originally released. I don't even know how many of them they made. That was an interesting one. Best headphone under $300. Best headphone of any type under $300. Oh, that's easy. The 6XX. No, what did you ask? I'm literally just reading the chat as I go here. I might be missing some people without meaning to. Let's see. Oh, the Samson Go mic. Dude, that's not a ripoff. That's a pretty good mic. I reviewed that a while ago. Are you calling my review bad now? Just kidding. LCDX and Focal clears for gaming. Yeah, that's pretty solid. Most people probably don't have anything like that. Okay. Yeah, no, I answered your question earlier about compressing game audio with software. Peace can't do it, but if you have a gaming sound card, then yeah, there's usually a setting that compresses the sound like crazy. I think Creative calls it Scout mode now. And, oh, you have the Amazon Basics version of the Samsung Go mic. Oh, God. Yeah, so most gaming sound cards have a compressor. You just have to Google it. I don't know what it's called now, but that's exactly what that's for, so you can hear footsteps really easily. Has my perception of what's reasonable price become a bit warped over time? You know, the market has shifted its consideration of what reasonable price. Personally, I don't think I would ever pay over like maybe $700, $800 on a headphone, and I haven't. Actually, except for only once, and that was the HD800, which I bought new at like the bottom of the market before they were discontinued. But that's a really good question. It's really sad that there aren't that many headphones that are in range of normal people, except for really that are like really good, except for probably the Sennheisers, like the 6XX. The really high-end stuff just keeps getting more and more expensive, really. All right, let's see. K712 for gaming. Yeah, it's better than the K702 because the imaging is a little bit skewed on those, overly wide. Blah, blah, blah. Closed dynamic headphone that's not ZMF or Focal, below $800. K553 is like the next thing I would recommend that's not those brands. Seriously. And that's not even made anymore, I don't think. The Audiophile was, I think, built very well, but it was just, it's a really like in-house design, so I thought the adjustments were really big, like between each adjustment on the headband, so that was really strange. Other than that, it was fine. The comfort was also weird. I don't know how they designed the pads on that. I don't know. I have to get one eventually. I'll just ask DMS, right? Hyped for HL3 on Valve's Index. Yeah, we can all hope. K550 and 553 are the same headphone. They have been since the very, very end of the original K550 line. I owned a late K550, and it was exactly the same sounding to a K553 Pro, the original, that I got after that, and I stuck with one of those. But since then, they've really only added the what's it called? They have added the replaceable mini XLR cable. Yeah, I don't know what is wrong with AKG with that thing. The K550 Mark III and the K553 Mark II are the same exact headphone as far as I can tell. They just are, depending on the market. The US has the 553. I don't understand. But that's discontinued now, I think, so that's sad. So hopefully the new AKGs, which are supposed to be tuned to the Harman response, according to Sean Olive on Twitter, will be decent enough to be a replacement. Let's see what we got. Oh, the Shure 1840. I don't think I ever heard the 1840. I heard the 1540 though, and it was funny because Shure had a booth at, I think it was maybe 2 years ago. No, last year, not earlier this year. And they were like, okay, here's good, and here's better, and here's best. And they had, I think there was the 440 or the 840, and then they had the 940, and they had the 1540. And going from the 940 to the 1540, I was like, this can't be real, because the 940 was so much more detailed. It's really surprising. So yeah, you're right. 1540 is pretty bad. I was surprised. You moved from the 600 to the 660S. Without any EQ, I would still take the 660S there. Although now an equalized 650 is like my endgame 6X0 from comparing all this stuff. Blah, blah, blah. People buy expensive headphones over and over because they want to fill a void. You know, that's just a human nature, is wanting to have something new all the time. This hobby is not good for that. At least it's not as expensive as like modifying cars, because you can blow money away on stuff like that. Thoughts on Borealis and Australis? I have not heard the closed back. I've only heard a prototype of the Borealis, and it had a really, really good frequency response. I don't think the detail was quite on the same level as I would expect for how much they're going to want to price those at, though, so we'll see what happens. People might be more... the dynamics, though, were ridiculous. They're like TH900 dynamics on an open back. Yeah. So that might really win people over. We'll see. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. The good old days when you'd only see a 650 versus the K702. Yeah, or versus the DT880. I think I was the one who... I saw the term mid-fi trios used like somewhere online. I don't remember which site, and I copied it and I wrote a whole comparison of those three, and that became like the official name of the 702 and the 880 and 650 now. Yeah, and that wasn't long ago. I mean, I swear, when I started this, was it 5 years ago? most people were still talking about the mid-fi stuff, and like the HD800 was some like amazing thing that few people have. Now we have like every headphone that comes out is over $1,000. It's really crazy. Yeah, max setting doesn't like the 660, and I have to agree that the timbre on the 660 is not as good. And that's partially due to the fact that the frequency response doesn't sound nearly as natural, no matter how much you EQ it. It's still pretty detailed, though. Yeah, it is the same driver. It's the same driver as the Kennerton Valley, in particular, is the Aurorus Audio Borealis. The closed back could be really interesting, because that would give us, if that's a good closed back, that would give us another option. I know you like the Elysia. I haven't actually reviewed that yet. A lot of people seem to really not like the Elysia. I thought it sounded pretty decent and warm at Can Jam. We'll see. But if the Australis is as good as people say it might be, that would be another really good option. But it's still going to be like $900. Maybe. I don't actually know what the official pricing is going to be. That's just what I heard. What else we got? Yeah, once you know what you like, stop going on forums. That's what I like to tell people. Look at what happened to me, though. Do you not want to become me? Actually, you might. Maybe not. Because one of the reasons that's nice about being a reviewer is I get to hear all this stuff. All right, fine. I'll stay for 30 more minutes. I was about to end the stream there in a second. Yeah, one of the nice things about being a reviewer is I get to hear all this stuff. But you don't want to get sucked into this never-ending... sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to do anything with headphones today. And then I go check my comments, and there's like 15 new ones. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to talk about headphones literally every second of the day. It's exhausting. So there are ups and downsides to it all. I'm just glad you guys enjoy it. I just can't believe there's so many people who value what I have to say. It's pretty incredible. Let's see. How often do I use the HD100 to enjoy music? Never. That's a serious answer. It's not an enjoyment of music kind of a headphone, at least not for me. It's just way too bright and sibilant and annoying. But the soundstage is ridiculous. If I was listening to classical all day or really, really well-recorded jazz, it could be really addictive. But that's just not me. Some people have it as their daily. I did too. I EQ'd the crap out of it, though. But nowadays, I just don't bother. I just use LCD too. Let's see. Yeah, it's also a really that's a really good point. You get a really warped perception of what everybody has by reading forums. Like 100, yeah, that's right. 100 people have Odysseys. Like most people have no idea what an Odyssey is, and they've barely heard of Sennheiser, let alone all these other super boutique brands like ZMF and whatever. It's really wild. So yeah. Neumann KH310. Oh, is that one of their studio monitors? Yeah, I've heard those are pretty good. We need a headphone content cop YouTuber. Oh, stop. Yeah, that's like the #1 way to start the massive amount of drama. There's already enough drama. I was already talking in my comments earlier today saying, like, I hate posting negative reviews because all these other commenters from the other reviewers come over and try to tell me I'm wrong for reasons X, Y, and Z. And it's just like, so what? People are taking this hobby too seriously. That's really the problem. So what? People can buy whatever they want. It's not like I'm going to lose sleep over it. I'm just here to try to be as unbiased as possible. Let's see. What other interests do I have other than headphones? Well, I play guitar still, occasionally. Adil Zero, who's on here as well with me, talk quite a bit about cars. Definitely a huge car guy, so I talk about that a lot. I used to be really into gaming mice. In fact, believe it or not, I still have a G Pro. This is old now. I think the new one has the Hero sensor, and there's a wireless one too. So that was what I used to do. What else do I even do? Obviously a huge nerd because I'm a programmer, so I have a computer engineering degree, so watching videos on stuff about computers and, vintage stuff, even though I haven't never started collecting old computers, is really interesting as well. So there's a couple things that I like that are not audio. This just gets tiring talking about audio all the time. Let's see. I don't usually cover electronics. Yeah, Yeah, the source gear has gone really objective now because ASR people are like, "Ooh, this is the only thing we can trust is measurements." And yeah, I mean the analyzer that Amir uses is accurate. I mean, I don't know if he's perfect at using the equipment from what I've read, but it's definitely should be accurate. But the problem is that it's the same story as headphones. It's people taking the frequency response and the THD and whatever as the only thing that, we can measure is that. Therefore, that's the only thing that's part of the sound. So if you just apply my methodology here to DACs and amps, you'll see that you also can't say, ooh, this measure is great, therefore it's good. Measurements are just a hint as to whether something might be decent or worth considering, honestly. How is your personal opinion objectively wrong? Yeah, right. That's basically most of my comments on like the 58X review. Yeah, the audio shop guys are the funniest. Like, there's a hi-fi store that's not too far from me, and the one time I went there, that was the first time I heard an Odyssey. I think it was the LCDX. I don't know, there was some guys talking about a system in the other room, and they're like, and there's just the one guy from the store sitting there like behind the sofa listening really intently, and then he turns to a couple people and was like, "You guys notice that little thing? Like, did you notice that?" And I was like, "Oh my god, is this really what I've become?" Hopefully never. Favorite guitar. If I wanted to own any guitar, it would be a Jackson SL2H in black. That is such a beautiful metal guitar. It is ridiculous. Let's see. G305 is the wireless version. No, there actually is a G Pro wireless, like purely wireless version of this mouse, I think. Where did I get my degree? Well, earlier I was drinking coffee. This is my undergrad, and my master's is from Drexel in Philly. Car lost interest around late 2012. Yeah, modern cars are definitely kind of sad for what they used to be. Like, I think the Doug DeMuro just released a video on this. Cars, pretty much there was a second golden age after the 60s, and that was the early 2000s and late 90s. And since then, cars have just become more and more automated and less involving. I write, let's see, I know C, C++, Visual C#, HTML, JavaScript, CSS, PHP, Python to some degree. I used to write more of it. Bash, which is a shell scripting, and I use a lot of Linux, so I know Linux pretty well. That's most of my professional credentials, or whatever it is. What else we got here? Also, 29 programmer. Are you serious? That's exactly how old I am. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of overlap in interests among nerds, so my interests are definitely not unusual as far as I can tell. People who gush over measurements lack the IQ to make actual independent thought. It's more like I wouldn't be as harsh on them because, being able to hear lots of headphones is very, very difficult. Very few people in only specific countries have the opportunity to just walk into a store and try everything. So they don't have anything else really other than to look at measurements. But the problem is when you try to assume that headphone's good because, oh, that line looked good. Yeah, that doesn't work too well. Mixing and mastering 240 versus SHP 9500. I don't really think either of those headphones are good enough to mix and master accurately, even though I know that the 240 gets used a lot. But if we're going to talk about that price range, I think I would rather go with like a 558 or something like that, or a 579. Those are going to be a little bit more accurate overall. Oh, you have a 7-string Jackson? Oh man, tell me how good that is. I've never actually played a 7-string, maybe once. The cool thing now for guitars is apparently the multi-scales with the frets that go like diagonally and stuff. Never tried anything like that. I mean, I've been playing guitar since 2004, so I'm like a total gear nerd, but I'm probably way out of date by now. I've got a Mesa single rectifier combo and a Mesa dual caliber DC5 right now for amps, and they are very, very fun. And my neighbors have very, very not fun when I play, probably. I have a ESP LTD MH400 NT as the guitar at the moment. Yeah, the 2023 series looks so weird, doesn't it? It doesn't even look like a BMW from the back. I was so confused every time I see one of those. It doesn't make any sense. Best headphones for mixing and mastering. Yeah, I would say the 6XX is up there. That's a little bit too warm for some people's, but it depends on what your reference sound is. But those Sennheisers have always been pretty decent within that price range, although they do lack the bass extension that you really need to hear everything. It's one of the problems. Evo 10, yeah. Yeah, one of my friends at work wants to get a Type R. Those things are really fun, most likely. I don't want to drive a manual every day, but I'm that kind of guy. Like, my ultimate goal is to have a daily and then have a weekend car. Right now I have a G37X Coupe, but it's a 2014, so they call it a Q60. And it is a blast, but it definitely eats gas, but nothing like a V8. Alright, what do we have now? What is my personal audio preferences to your ears? How I come up with my reference sound is mainly based on how I've heard most speakers, actually. And maybe my ears are just broken, but I do find a lot of full-size headphones too bright after hearing, like if I'm comparing to things like live music I've heard, live acoustic music, comparing to things like movie theaters, the way they tune their speakers. That's probably on the warm side on purpose, though. But I've never actually calibrated a flat line, a speaker in a room. So that's probably why my reference sound is a little bit more towards Harman, a lot more towards the Harman target, even though that's not diffuse field. So Mesa Heartbreaker, yeah, I've heard of those. That's probably really fun. 458 Italia, yeah, I have to agree. Although the 430 Scud was like the best sounding V8 Ferrari that they ever came out with recently at all. The A12 Superfast is craziness, though. That's like my favorite new Ferrari for sure. Yeah, Q60 Red Sport must be fun. Unfortunately, the sport exhaust on that car is not that loud. It's kind of lame because the turbos are in the path there. HD600, a proper upgrade coming from a 58X. I would recommend the 6XX actually instead, because the difference between the upper mid-range of the 58X and the 600 is huge, and it's not quite as jarring when you go to the 6XX, because the 58X is on the warmer side for the mids on a 6X0 style headphone. You tried my HD800 EQ. Quite dark. Yeah, if you're used to the headphone without EQ, yeah, it's going to be really dark. The trick is to come back the next day with the EQ still running and then decide if it's still too dark. And yeah, an LCD2 kind of sounds like that, but the mids are even more withdrawn. Like a lot more withdrawn. HD6 series and more mixing than monitoring. Right, yeah. Monitoring is definitely closed back stuff. Really the only goal with monitor closed backs like the 380 is just so that people can hear. They have to be built well so they can survive people slamming them around in a studio, and they have to make sound that's decent enough to tell what's coming out of the mic, and that's really it. They also have to be very maintainable, and there has to be parts available. So that's kind of why the Sony is so popular. It doesn't sound great at all, at least to me, but it picks up sound really well. It's very harsh and aggressive, so it's easy to hear what the mic could be recording. But I wouldn't use it to listen to music. So that's what monitors are for versus mixing headphones. Indeed. Aston Martin Valhalla. Why have I not heard of this? We're going to have to look at that now. Did you see the new, was it the Lotus? The V12? Oh, I think it was a Lotus. That thing was really nuts. They also released this concept as an electric car with like 2,000 horsepower. Then I'm like, stop. That's not where we want to be going. Focal LX wasn't what DMS and Josh Floor hyped it to be. Yeah, it's interesting. Now that I look back on my first take and second take on the LX. I think the first unit was noticeably worse than the second one, which was bizarre. But still, I mean, they have really good dynamics, and the mids and treble were in line, but they're definitely brighter tilted. But I'd still rather listen to that than a 1990. But I wouldn't want to actually own it for myself. F12 and the F812. Yeah, those NAV12s are the only way to go. There's gotta have an NAV12. It's like the standard requirement for me for an Italian supercar. Like, otherwise it's just not right. Yeah, the 2020 Vet's really interesting. It does look like a Lambo. I think it looks more like a Ferrari to me. Yeah, I think people are kind of up in arms about that, but I think it's going to be a tour de force in terms of technical ability. Yeah, I think there is a V12 Lotus. Am I going crazy? Let me see if I can find it. There's supposed to be a brand new one. Maybe it's not a Lotus. I already forget. Let's see. NS10. Ha! Yep. The NS10s were bad, but they were instantly recognizable frequency responses, is what I've heard from audio engineers, and that's exactly why people use them. So that's a pretty interesting one. Yeah, Olive does say the 58X is a better choice. No, it doesn't sound similar to the 600. It's pretty noticeably different. How does Lotus have money to do this? Yeah, right. I could be completely wrong. I definitely saw something that had massive power and had a V12 and a manual, and I was like, what? You have my attention now. But I already forget what brand it was. All right, take care, Nagy. Top 3 quirks and features of myself. Oh my god, you expect me to answer that? That's too hard. I like things that are too warm. I don't move my hands enough. And the other quirk is that I don't wear a GoPro. There you go. What source would I recommend for high quality music? Honestly, I usually can't tell the difference between Spotify and lossless stuff. But I think if you want to be safe, Tidal's lossless streaming is probably the best digital. That's actually a streaming service, I think, anyway. You guys can correct me on that if I'm wrong. But physical media, I don't know. Some people are really into vinyl, and that's something that I've wanted to get into for a while. Not that it's better than digital, but rather it's just the novelty of it all is really fun. ES100. Yeah, if you want to get into it for cheap, ES100's good. Blah, blah, blah. But does the Lotus beat a first gen Miata? One of my friends at work's got the latest gen Miata. I think it's just a go-kart, man. I can't believe how fast it turns. It's mind-blowing. Probably because my G37 is super heavy by comparison. It's like a boat. If I had the objectively best electronics, I could tell the difference. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I haven't heard something like a BHA-1 and very high-end DAC. So I have no idea. Do I use desktop speakers at all? I don't use desktop speakers, but I do have a home theater that's calibrated to whatever Denon thinks the target curve is supposed to be. And that's the ELAC B6s there, which isn't great. I thought about getting LSR 305s before, but I never actually ended up doing that. And mainly because the room treatment is not great in the rooms that I have. HE5SE. You know, I really don't trust those redone hi-fi, man. It's HE6SE and HE5SE. Yeah, listen to Flux. He knows everything. He can just take over my channel. I'll just retire. After all, he has all the headphones anyway that I would want to review. But as far as my headphone reference sound, though, because I don't have like monitor speakers, to describe it simply, it's essentially the 650 or 6XX with less upper mids, about 3 to 4 dB less upper mids at 3.5K, and then extend the bass out. And that's basically the target that I look for in headphones. Do I prefer the X2 over the Argon? Oh, wow, I totally missed this. Yes, Wild Goose Chase. Hey, yeah, thank you. Thank you, or I'm sorry about your wallet. One of those two responses to that super chat right there. Do I prefer the X2 over Argon? I have not heard the X2 at home, ever, amazingly. And so I don't know, but I'm not the biggest Argon fan, and even Ryan admitted to me that the Mark III, he had to kind of destroy the bass dynamics in order to get the treble down further. So he actually prefers the Mark II Argon, believe it or not. Give you the password to my YouTube channel. Yeah, you can take over. You probably have a way better camera than I ever will. Okay, Sony earbuds are an Odyssey LCD i4. You know what's really funny, if you guys want to laugh? The earbuds I used the most throughout like high school, I think it was called the MDR E820, was it 828 LP? Oh man, that's old. Yeah, MDR E828, the Fontopia earbuds. Those were so bad. But they were like $10. So yeah, LCD i4 is a little bit better than that. Although its frequency response is still pretty weird. Have I changed my opinion on the 599? Somebody asked me that earlier. It's become more positive because I think they're coming down to like $150 now, which makes them a really serious alternative to the 58X with a wider soundstage, so that'd be better for gaming. Argon Mark II still has just really annoying treble to me. I don't know. That's just me. I actually have the ZMF Classic right now, which is going to be the next review. Somebody asked me about that earlier, what my next review is going to be. Yeah, ZMF Classic, and then I'm probably going to do the Verite after that. Yeah, I don't know about the T60. I haven't even heard that yet either. Gas station earbuds. The funniest one was when Sean Olive measured some airline earbuds, and that graph was just hilarious. Like nobody designed anything in that. They just stuck something in there and hooked it up with a voice coil and I was like, oh, we have a sound. Good enough. It's just hilarious. Oh, no way. The Mark II and Mark III sound way different. He had them side by side at Can Jam. If I could only own one sealed and one open and one amp, like ever, at any price point, ooh. That's difficult to tell so far because the Verite C just came out and I don't have it yet. So that might be the best sealed phone. Till then, this is the ZMF Atticus painted purple that I'm using. Is this, some people who have been in the stream since the beginning are going to be like, this guy's definitely a ZMF salesman by now. No, dude, I own these. These are actually mine. Yeah, they're pretty good. But yeah, so for ultimate closed back, it's probably going to end up being the Verite C if I like that. Ultimate open back is still the LCD4 so far. I need to hear the 007 though. And the ultimate amp, yeah, I don't know enough about amps to know that for sure. 789 sounds fine to me, but there are definitely some upgrades there. Flux probably knows. BHA1 or something like that is one of them. Or I don't know, maybe Flux likes tubes. It's a conspiracy. No. Yeah, closed Verite is supposed to be awesome. We'll see what happens with that. Yeah, I like Kryn. He does some good reviews. And he was doing some hilarious YouTube videos. I'm not sure if he's going to keep doing those, though. Oh, yeah, if you want content cop, that's what he was about to become, actually, Chronicle's YouTube videos. Yeah, no, this is not rare. This is actually just camphor. It's just the stock camphor wood. You can kind of tell because of this cup's got that. This almost looks like somebody drew with permanent marker on it. When I saw the pictures when Zach first made the headphone, I was like, that doesn't look how I expected. And then I realized, oh, that's just the way the wood grain is underneath it. So he applied a purple like varnish to it. Yeah, it's just a stock wood though. So it's nothing super, super expensive. Yeah, Denfi is the ZMF salesman. Yes, seriously. It's apparently Zach is sending me the Verite Open this month at some point. Apparently. I don't have it yet, though. And I have 3 more minutes. Anybody else have any last minute questions? I think I've been streaming for like almost 2.5 hours now. Man, you guys are really persistent. Of course, here comes the chat. It's going to explode now. I'm not going to be able to keep up. Oh, EQ for 660S. Did I not post that in the 660 review? Basically, with those, yeah, this Q&A gets uploaded automatically. Yeah, I should start streaming weekly, but a lot of the time, yeah, some of you guys probably have never seen me stream. That's another reason why I went live, because it's been a while. Yeah, next live stream next year. Hopefully in like every other week or something. I think that's what I was doing for a while. But yeah, these automatically get uploaded, so you'll be able to watch the beginning of it later. Let's see. Oh, EQ for 660, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, with those, I actually reduced 10K by about 3 dB. They're quite bright compared to the other 6X0s. But the upper mids, I reduced less. The last thing I did to them was I removed about 2 dB from 3 kilohertz. They seem to have a slightly different voicing in the upper mids as well. Thoughts on your yellow walls? My thoughts are, that's how this place was when I got here, and I'm not approving of it. But it would be a pain to paint everything, and I don't want to pay to paint all this stuff. Are there headphones that sound similar to live music? That's my goal. I don't have my own Discord, no. How do I stay motivated to do this stuff? That's a great question. Honestly, it's really just you guys. So like, you know, my motivation varies depending on what kind of comments I end up getting. Some days I'm just like, I'm stopping. And some days I'm just like, wow, maybe I shouldn't stop. No, but if I change the white balance even further, then everything else will look blue, and that'll be really strange. This is actually how the room looks. Like, my monitor is IPS, and I'm pretty sure it's accurate, and so I think what you're seeing is what I'm seeing, and it's a really strange light yellow. I didn't choose it. All right, take care, deal. United Airlines disliked it for the United Airline. Was that where Sean Olive got his cheap earbuds? I wouldn't be surprised. All right, guys, that's it. You guys made me do 30 minutes more than I even needed to, but creamy white. I think they call it pale straw yellow. They always come up with some weird name. All right, I'll see you guys again soon. He has a questionable opinions on wine. Oh God. I know he likes wine. I don't know how good he is at reviewing it. All right. I'll see you guys later. By the way, Periapt cables. That's my last plug of the night, I swear. All right, see you guys later.